Can you explain the different types of bonds that are available for a lay investor, retail investor to get into? What are the typical returns compared to, say, what one would get in an FD? And what are the risks that investors should be careful about while investing in bonds?
Absolutely. So look, there are many kinds of bonds. If we go by the type of issuers, so there could be government bonds or there could be private sector bonds, right? Government bonds are tax-free or taxable. Tax-free bonds, government have stopped issuing fresh lots since 2015, but there are bonds which are available in the secondary market. One can go and buy it out on the secondary market. On the tax-free bonds, the yields are not very attractive though, but these are tax-free yields. So it is roughly hovering in the range of 4.5 odd percent today. But the good part is this is attractive opportunity for HNI or ultra HNI investors who are in the highest tax bracket. So if you are in a 33% tax bracket or a 43% tax bracket, right, let's super HNI tax bracket, then this becomes an attractive opportunity because the pre-tax yield roughly comes at around 8 odd percent. And these are very, very liquid, good names, all government backed, PFC, REC, NHAI, IRFC, those kind of issuers, right? So that's the tax-free zone. Then comes the taxable bonds. Government issues a lot of these taxable bonds across the similar entities now. And even you have RBI bonds and so on and so forth, but the yields are not very attractive. Then you have private sector bonds, which are issued by private banks or the PSU banks also. Those could be in the form of additional tier 1 capital, which is called the AT1 bonds, or those could be in the form of AT2 bonds or the tier 2 bonds, which are called, right? Now, when you talk of AT1 bonds, you have to also understand most of these are perpetuals or the perps. Now, there are multiple risks which are involved in these things, so the interest rate offered is fairly attractive and fairly high. Just to give you an example, Sonia, on the perpetuals or the AT1 bonds today, the bank bonds, the yield would be anywhere in the range of around 8% to going as high as almost like 11 odd percent, right? It will depend on the name of the issuer, the quality of the paper, the credit rating of the paper. But the risks involved with perpetuals are very high. We have seen that recently in the case of Yes Bank, RBI kind of zeroized the entire outstanding perpetual book, and all the bond investors were left with actually zero capital. Actually, they lost the entire capital in that case. So the risks are high. The rate of return is fairly high. One has to understand that in perpetuals, the company who's issuing can forego paying the interest payment if they run into losses, right? So it is like a quasi equity instrument. The returns are fairly attractive and fairly high. So if you go in for a perpetual bond of, let's say, Bank of Baroda or an SBI or an HDFC or an ICICI, those are good names. You can still take a quality call out there with a slightly higher interest rate. Look, HDFC bank deposit might fetch you 5 to 6 odd percent, but an HDFC perpetual bond will today fetch you over 7% or somewhere in that range, right? So there is a difference. And similarly with all bank perpetual bonds. Then you have additional tier 2, which are more secured in nature, basically, and the rate of return is slightly lower than the perpetual bonds, but they at least are on the seniority aspect, they are senior to the perpetuals. They are senior. So that's called additional tier 2 bonds, but they work in a similar fashion, basically. So that's on the bond part of it. Now you also have private corporations who issue these bonds. So you have a Shriram Transport Finance, or you have a Manappuram Finance, or a Muthoot Finance, or other NBFCs like an Spandana Spurti, whose bonds today are quoting at almost like 11% yield, right? You have an Asirvad Microfinance, which is a Manappuram group company. The bonds are quoting at 10%. So there are attractive names. One has to be credit conscious. One has to be conscious of the quality of issuers, basically. And if you are comfortable with a particular name and the credit worthiness of that issuer, you can actually go in for these high paying bonds, and they can really enhance your overall fixed income returns.
So you spoke about how, I just have a follow up here, you spoke about how some of these bonds, corporate bonds like Manappuram, etc., have a 10-11% rate of return. What are the risks associated, and how does one as an investor, how do you look for those risks? I mean, where do you get to know what is the credit worthiness of these companies? What are the risks that you need to be aware of before investing?
Yeah. So look, Sonia, it's not Manappuram. Manappuram is actually quoting quite low, but it's a group company of Manappuram, which is Asirvad Microfinance, which is 95% owned by Manappuram. So these are the things which one has to know actually. So the issue in this case is Asirvad Microfinance. The bond is quoting at almost 10 odd percent. It's a 2026 maturity bond with a monthly payout. The risks are fairly high because it's a microfinance company. Look, everyone saw what happened last year, right? The collection rates were not very high across the microfinance industry. There were moratoriums, there were interest defaults, payment defaults, and so on and so forth. So when these companies are into business of lending, smaller ticket loans to smaller SMEs or smaller individuals, right? So there could be high chances of defaults and credit defaults, and that's the reason why the rates are so high. If the businesses were simple and normal businesses, right, the rates wouldn't have been so high. So the only way to actually assess the risk is to go look at the company's pedigree. The promoter's integrity is of prime importance out here. The credit rating. So is it what is the credit rating? Is it a AA CRISIL paper, A plus CRISIL, or what kind of credit ratings are actually rated? Sometimes you might just find some unknown credit rating agencies rating the paper, and that's a red flag. You can perhaps make out that these are not the right things to go for, basically. So one has to be cautious on the quality of promoter, the balance sheet strength of the company, and what has been the track record. Look, the companies also can't take chance, because if they default or if they skip paying interest or something, their credit ratings could be downgraded immediately.
Because sure, sorry to interrupt you, because I'm getting a lot of queries coming in. I just want to toss one of them. It's, it's relevant for the moment. Kunal Thakkar has written to us and he says, why are perpetual bonds of PSU banks being quoted higher than the fixed deposits of these banks? So for example, SBI, Union Bank, BOI, etc. It would be great if you can include this in your discussion too. So you said earlier that perpetual bonds are quoting higher purely because of the high risks involved. But if you just want to, go over that again for Kunal.
Yeah. So I think, Kunal, one has to understand the hierarchy of safety in these instruments. Look, perpetuals are like quasi equity, and I will again repeat that it is almost like an equity investment, basically, just a notch below that. So on seniority scale, you have secured bonds or secured debentures, then you have unsecured bond or unsecured debentures, and then you have subordinated debt, which is also called sub debt, and then you have perpetuals, and then you have preference shares. So that's the level of security. So secured is much higher and perpetuals are much low, because the risk involved is higher. In a deposit, the DGIC will guarantee you 5 lakh rupees, right? With any bank. In a perpetual, no one will guarantee you. They could be zeroized anytime if a company run into losses, and even the interest payment could be skipped, right? So, and one has seen that happening in the country recently. So one has to be very, very careful in the name of the issuer in which you are choosing, and the quality of bank and the balance sheet strength. That's why the return is higher. Higher the risk, higher the return.
Okay.